you look at it from the outside and we're just smoking an excessive amount of pot, and maybe you think we're kind of joking when we say it's a serious situation, but somebody's going to make a lot of money this year based on it. And, you know, if somebody's going to win it, it might as well be the guy who did the best work, who deserves it. And I kind of stand by that.
The seed company strains are divided into two categories, indica and sativa. Sativas are more of sort of a closer to the equator, where they have a longer flowering season. So naturally, their plants just have a longer flowering period, 70 days, 80 days, some even months and months. The high is considered to be more of like an up high, a head high. Indicas are more from kind of the mountainous regions, closer to the sun. They're cold weather plants, so they don't have as long to flower. So naturally, by evolution, they sort of evolved a shorter flowering time. Indicas are considered kind of a couch lock, like a stoned body type high. And they were bred for different reasons. Sativas they bred for rope, they bred for medicinal qualities and things like that. Whereas, in the Hindu Kush region or somewhere like that, in the mountains, their indicas were bred for hash. So the more trichome production, the quicker, the bigger the buds, the more actual, glands produced by the buds, those are being chosen year after year. So they basically refine themselves in the wild, and sort of breeders took over as well. If they have inbred lines of pure sativa and a pure indica, you cross those two and get hybrid vigor. Marijuana pa' mí. I prefer sativas for the most part. Although when I was a kid, I liked the indicas more because you just want to get baked.
The strains each year are always coded in the blind test so that we don't know what they are. This year, the Cup founder Steve Hager decided to use the tarot deck as the means of coding, the names of the strains. But more than that, he decided before we even went to Amsterdam that he was going to actually construct a tarot deck that would feature the staff of High Times and our extended family, our friends, the people that were involved in the Cup.
At that time I thought, well, we better make it before we go over there. And then I was like, no, I think it ought to be done at the event so that it kind of spontaneously emerges.
He told me about it beforehand. I thought it was a cool idea, but I didn't think there was any way he would be able to get a deck made, in 2 weeks' time,
That was like the best part of the whole event to me, is watching the cards being made. I really enjoyed that.
40 kinds of weed over 4 days. We're sitting in one room.
Rich got a hand grenade.
The holy hand grenade.
That's right.
We are as tricked out as you could possibly be for pot smoking. We have pipes that are blown just for us, and they say High Times. We're at the High Times Cannabis Cup. We have bongs. We have a woman who is a master grower, and her job is just simply to roll us joints over and over and over again. She's the joint roller. We have coffee. We have food, anything at our beck and call, soda, water, whatever. We had a microscope that you could look at the glands of the marijuana, but more than that, the microscope hooked up to a TV so we could put it on top of a monitor and sit there and discuss the glandular qualities of the marijuana. Up there for 4 days, 40 kinds of weed. People say, how do you find it out? How do you find the best weed? Well, the answer is you don't judge it like smoke one, make your notes, and go on. What you do is, at least everybody does it differently. What we did a round robin.
Which one is that?
In between strains, you do something, you have some ice cream, do something to kind of cleanse your palate, and you can't just smoke 25 strains every day.
It's almost like syrupy.
That's okay.
Eventually, something pops out.
That went right up my nose, right into my brain.
We got something good right here.
And this is what?
Oh, yeah, dude.
And says, whoa, whoa, notice me. Whoa, I'm really hot. Did you notice that? Because of course you're high. You just spent, the last 3 hours smoking, 12, 15 kinds of pot. But now I just smoked this 16th kinds of pot, and it cut right through the haze, so to speak. And whoa, I'm much higher than I was a few minutes ago. Put that shit on the side.
So you kind of just put that in a baggie and slip that in your pocket, and that's what you're smoking tomorrow morning when you wake up. This is a beautiful looking bud.
Yeah.
It was awesome. It was awesome. I don't know what I can do to do it again.
The people who are judging this are people who smoke ridiculous amounts of weed and have access to every strain you can imagine.
I think that they probably did a better job judging than anybody's ever done.
I kind of go through the jars and I see which ones look and smell superior.
We like pot that smells good and tastes good, but a lot of those smells and tastes are the terpenes themselves. And so the pleasing kind of tasting lemony flavors or fuel kind of flavors, they're imparted not by any of the leaf material, but by the actual trichomes, what's in them, the essential oils. Marijuana potency isn't just about THC. It's really about THC in combination with essential oils that are also existing with the THC in the gland. So there's hundreds, maybe 150 different terpenes that are basically have been separated out of that essential oil, and each one of them has effects, psychoactive effects that act in conjunction with THC.
Any weed that doesn't make me tingle isn't a real contender for the winner. Kind of bitter.
Yeah, well, bad.
And then the real one is if it takes you nose tingle so much that you sneeze.
Smoke up.
Then that's hands down a winner. My phrase is, if it makes you sneeze, it's sure to please.
Oh man, that was the strongest one by far so far.
Oh.
You know, each coffee shop enters a nader hash, an import hash. Nader hash is stuff that they make locally. Import stuff comes from North Africa, the Middle East, or wherever, hash producing regions.
So that's really the treat over there too, because even if you're a pot expert, you don't get that variety of imported hash.
This is where it's at.
In America, you're a fortunate guy if you can get a couple of grams of hash on a regular basis.
That's just enough.
So you're talking about 400 or 500 different kinds of hash floating around Amsterdam at any given time. That's something to behold. That's pretty nice.
I feel like, why even smoke weed while I'm in Amsterdam when I can be smoking hash? I like to make the analogy of hash and cannabis to wine and beer.
If you've never had experience with hash, go about it carefully.
I mean, hash is the concentrated glandular trichomes from the weed. It's basically concentrated pot.
No, don't go and smoke that whole gram all at once, because I'll draw a penis on your face when you're laying on the floor. If you be that guy, I'm going to be that guy.
We have this habit of, if you've got a bunch of hash over there, you just get these entries, these big slabs of hash. So we'll flatten out a piece of hash as flat as you can get it, almost like a rolling paper size, and then roll a blunt or a joint kind of out of the hash, using the hash as the paper.
So we rolled one of them, and it was fantastic. It burned for like 45 minutes. 10 of us in the room, none of us could barely stand by the end of it. And these are experienced professional smokers. We were really, really high. We were about halfway done smoking it, and Redman asked me to show him how to do it. So I was just going to roll him one.
He said, no, I'm going to do it myself. He really wanted to learn it. So he sat down and he flattened his own piece of hash, and he rolled his own, and he smoked that. And
so this is 2 of them. And we finished it at like 8:30 or so. Redman's supposed to be on stage at 10 o'clock.
We're pretty high that day.
11 o'clock comes and Redman's not in the building yet. They're pulling people off the audience to get on stage and perform. It's like 11:30, Redman's still not on stage yet, and people are starting to get worried. So at that point, me and Dan kind of had a little powwow where we're like, listen guys, don't tell that story about the Redman anymore. From this point forward and the rest of the night, let's pretend that didn't happen. Because if Redman doesn't show up, there's like kind of an angry mob starting to develop in this place. But then he showed up and he gave a fucking great performance.